Captain Hayes, you'll be riding the jump seat today. The words echoed in the dispatch room at Reagan National Airport. A corporate execution delivered in front of 24 junior pilots. Captain Alana Hayes stood immaculate in her Navy uniform, her 4 silver stripes representing 31 years of commanding the sky. 14,000 flight hours. She read storm cells by eye, not by algorithm. She had landed crippled aircraft on ice-slick runways before most of these pilots had driver's licenses. But an email from the medical board had changed that. Due to age-based reflex analysis, you are transitioning to observer status, grounded, because her 58-year-old reflexes were deemed a liability compared to the digital generation. Captain Tyler Morgan, 34 and freshly upgraded to the left seat, offered a tight, polite smile. I've got the controls for Flight 782 to Denver, Captain. You can observe from the back. Everyone in the room knew what that meant. The polite retirement shelf. Elena didn't argue. Only pure discipline showed. Understood, Captain? The flight plan lit up the massive digital screen. A full load. 162 passengers. An unstable weather front was moving east, sitting directly across their flight path. Elena studied the radar projection longer than anyone else. That cell over Kansas is deepening faster than predicted. The moisture bands are stacking. The young operations officer shook his head, tapping his tablet with absolute certainty. Predictive models show it breaking apart, Elena. The computer says it's a green route. She didn't argue, but she memorized the coordinates. Computers know the math, but they don't feel the sky. 2 hours later, Flight 782 climbed through 18,000 feet. The cabin lights dimmed as the sun set. Elena sat strapped into the cramped jump seat directly behind Morgan and his young first officer, Kelly Ramirez. She said nothing. Her eyes watched everything. Morgan handled the controls with casual ease. He engaged the autopilot at flight level 340. It was a perfectly smooth ride. Until it wasn't. 40 minutes later, they entered the outer edge of the Kansas system. The turbulence started as a mild vibration. Then it became a sharp, violent shudder that rattled the overhead bins. The massive Boeing 737 dropped 300 feet in 2 terrifying seconds. First Officer Kelly gasped, her hands grabbing the armrests. The weather radar screen on the center console flickered. The green blobs were rapidly shifting to yellow, then to an angry, solid red. Morgan frowned, tapping the glass as if it were malfunctioning. That's strange. The model said this cell was dissipating. The storm isn't weakening, Tyler, Elena said quietly from the shadows behind him. It's building, fast, ATC. Flight 782, requesting deviation 10 degrees south to avoid weather. Morgan radioed, genuine stress entering his voice. Static hissed through the headset. Unable, heavy congestion. Hold present heading and altitude. Lightning cracked across the windshield in blinding white veins, illuminating the tense faces of the young pilots. Elena leaned forward against her harness. Tyler, we need to climb above the shear line now. Request flight level 380. Morgan shook his head, his eyes locked desperately on his digital readouts. We're at max optimal cruising altitude. The computer says climbing will induce a stall warning. Another violent drop. 400 feet this time. Autopilot disconnect. A heavy, terrifying alarm chimed as the yoke violently jerked forward in Morgan's hands. I have manual control, Morgan shouted, grabbing the stick with white knuckles. Rain hammered the aluminum fuselage like handfuls of gravel. The artificial horizon on the display flickered, lagging behind the physical movement of the plane. Morgan's breathing grew fast and heavy. He was falling behind the aircraft. The storm cell bloomed into a terrifying black core on the radar. Severe updrafts, a hail zone. Reduce your thrust by 5%. Elena's voice cut through the chaos. It was smooth, completely devoid of fear. Nose up 2 degrees. Do not fight the turbulence. You will overstress the airframe. I've got it. Morgan snapped, his youthful reflexes trying to counter every single bump. He was making it worse. A violent lateral roll threw the aircraft 18 degrees to the right. Coffee splashed across the console. Faint screams echoed from the passenger cabin behind the reinforced door. Altitude is fluctuating wildly. Kelly yelled over the roar of the rain. Airspeed disagreement. Pitot tubes might be icing. Elena felt the heavy, sinking sensation in her stomach. She had seen this exact pattern over the Atlantic 20 years ago. It was a microburst, an invisible sledgehammer of wind plunging straight down from the sky. We are flying into a vertical shear, Elena commanded. Tyler, you are overcompensating. Let go of the trim. Morgan didn't answer. He was fighting the stick with all his strength. A horrific crack echoed across the fuselage. Hail. The left engine warning light illuminated. Engine 2 was choking on the frozen ice. Lightning struck directly near the nose dome. And then the entire primary glass display went dark. Black. 2 seconds in a microburst without instruments is an eternity. Morgan froze. His perfect reflexes were utterly useless without a screen to tell him what to react to. Elena moved. She reached forward over Morgan's shoulder and placed her hand firmly over his on the thrust levers. Level the nose, she said, her voice anchoring the entire cockpit. You are chasing the altimeter. Stop. Fly the physical airplane. Let her ride the wave. Morgan hesitated, his eyes wide in the pitch-black cockpit. Then he surrendered the tension in his arms and nodded. A mechanical voice warned. Terrain. Pull up. False warning from the pressure drop, she said softly. Hold your pitch. Maintain 280 knots. Let her float. Elena's eyes tracked the faint analog standby compass and the physical horizon barely visible through the lightning flashes. There, she murmured, pointing through the rain-streaked glass. See that lighter gray band at 2 o'clock? It's a break in the wall. Bank 2 degrees, right? Morgan trusted her. He gently banked the heavy jet. The violent vertical slams shifted into a manageable lateral shake. For 7 agonizing minutes, they rode the edge of the storm. Then the red core on the rebooting radar faded to orange. The rain softened. The 737 punched through the cloud wall into a breathtaking, clear twilight sky. Silence filled the cockpit. Just the steady, beautiful hum of the engines. Morgan exhaled a breath he had been holding for 10 miles. The radio crackled. Flight 782. Confirm status. Morgan swallowed hard. Flight 782 is stable. We are clear of the weather. He slowly turned in his seat to look at the woman behind him. Elena simply gave a small, professional nod. They landed safely in Denver. After shutdown, the cockpit sat in heavy silence. Morgan's hands were still shaking slightly. You saw that cell building in the briefing room, Morgan said quietly. Yes, and they ignored you because the computer said it was fine. Yes. He turned fully to face her. I almost flew us straight into the core of a microburst. I reacted. But you read the sky. Elena adjusted her navy jacket. Experience isn't about reflex speed, Tyler. Computers know the math. But pilots know the music. By the time Elena reached the Denver operations desk, management was already on a secure call. Captain Hayes, the operations officer, cleared his throat over the speakerphone. The storm intensified beyond our algorithmic models. We are reconsidering your reassignment. Would you resume command status? Elena thought about the email from that morning. About 31 years of navigating storms no computer could predict. I never stopped being a pilot, she said. I'll take the morning flight back. The next morning, as the crew gathered in the lobby, Morgan walked straight up to Elena. He stood at attention. Captain Hayes, I'll be flying your right seat today. If you'll have me. She studied him for a moment. Only if you're ready to look out the window instead of at your screens. Yes, ma'am. I am. The sky above them was perfectly clear. But both of them knew the truth. Clear skies never last. And the pilots who survive the longest aren't the ones with the fastest reflexes. They are the ones who can see the storm long before anyone else does. If you were a passenger on that plane, who would you want in the pilot's seat? Let us know in the comments below. And for more stories of hidden heroes and silent authority, hit that subscribe button. This is Stories of Honor.